Hey guys, welcome to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, we'll be cutting and sewing these two pieces that you can see on your screen. So altogether, I managed 2.5 yards of Ankara fabric for this style. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So first of all, cut the blouse and sew it before sewing the pant. So the first thing I'll do to cut out this circle top is to fold my fabric into two like this. After doing that, I'll pick the folded end of the fabric and I'll fold it over like this. So after folding your fabric like this, once you cut it out, you are going to have two pieces, one for the front and one for the back. So on this end, we have one folded end and two open end, and we have this closed edge. That is where you are going to mark your neckline measurement. So for me, I want to fold my fabric into four because I want to cut both lining and main fabric together. So I'll be using 1.5 yard of this fabric. After folding into four, I went ahead to fold this closed end over like this. Okay, so the difference between this one and the other folding is that this one is folded into four. Okay, so after doing that, now I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches. So I'll place my tape and find 7.5 inches. So this is 7.5 inches. I'll rule a straight line across. Next thing I'll do is to take 3 inches for my neck width and 3.5 inches as my neck depth, and I'm going to connect. So you're going to determine how deep you want the neckline to be. On this end, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll slant from the neck width to the 1 inch like this. After doing that, I'll go down by my armhole depth. My original armhole depth is 8 inches, but I took 7 inches because it's a sleeveless blouse and I don't want the armhole area to be too open, so I took 7 inches. On that 7 inches, I connected like this. It's going to be the bust line. So on that line, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add 1 inch for ease. So after doing that, I'll connect from the 1 inch ease allowance all the way to the shoulder line like this. So the next thing I'll do is to mark the length of my blouse. So because I'm cutting out 4 pieces, my fabric is not enough for the length. So I'm going to be adding fabric to the part that is missing. So the length of my blouse is quite short. Mine is 17 inches. So go ahead and determine the length of your dress, and you mark from the shoulder all the way around to form a circle. On the armhole area, I'm going to just connect like this, and I'll connect from there all the way down. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the flare part. The part that is missing, I'll be adding the pieces that I'm cutting out to that part to complete it. So for the sleeveless part of the blouse, if you don't want your neckline to be too deep, you can connect the way you see me placing my roller down to the armhole area. But I don't want it to choke me, so I'm going to connect from the 3.5 inches in a slant to the armhole area. So you can do 2.5 inches, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, depending on what you want. For me, I just connected like this, and I'm going to cut this part out. After cutting, guys, I'm going to open my fabric up. So I have 4 pieces here, 2 for the main fabric and 2 for the lining. So what I'll do now is to complete the part that was not complete while I was drafting. So if you are using 2 yards to cut out your blouse, you are not going to have this issue at all. Okay, so what I'll do is to complete it. To do that, I'm going to fold it back, and I'll bring out my scrap fabric that is still folded into 4. So after doing that, I'll place it underneath the one that is short, making sure I leave about half an inch on the upper part, which I'll be using to stitch them together. Okay, so I'll place the scrap fabric on top, making sure it overlaps by at least half an inch. I'll arrange them in place. After doing that, I'll flip it to the other side. Okay, that is the longer part, and then I'll trim out the excess fabric, as you can see me doing. After trimming out the excess fabric, this is what I have. I'll turn it over. So what I'll do now is to pin them. Remember, the scrap fabric is also folded into 4. So I'm going to place them right sides facing right side. So I'll arrange them in place to complete it. I'll pin, and I'll head over to my sewing machine to use the half an inch to sew. Okay, so pin them all the way on the 4 parts. If you're using 2 yards of fabric, you should not have this issue, like I said before. So after sewing, this is what I have. So for the back is not going to have the same neckline as the front. So what I'll do is to reduce the back. So it depends on how deep you want it to be. So I've gone ahead to pin both the main fabric of the back and the lining fabric of the back together. So what I'll do is to go upward from that 7 inches earlier, because I don't want the neckline for the back to be too deep. So I'm going to slant from there into the armhole area. So whatever you do, make sure it ends at the armhole area. So I'll open it up, I'll head over to my sewing machine to sew all the way around. I'll leave a little bit of opening on the side to turn everything inside out. So for the strap, I've gone ahead to cut out this 1.5 inches width of fabric. The length should be as long as you want it for now. I'm going to sew it and I'll turn it inside out. I went ahead to cut out 2. So after sewing, this is what I have. Next thing I'll do is to bring in my front. So the sharp edge on the center is where I'm going to be pinning the 2 straps to. So you can overlap them, you can place them side by side. But once you place it, go ahead and use your pins to hold it down. After doing that, I'm going to cover it up with the lining piece and I'm going to pin all the way around. I'll leave a little bit of opening on the side to turn everything inside out. So just sew all the way around and then turn it to the right side. So after sewing the front, this is what I have. I went ahead to use the opening on the side to turn it to the right side. So I've also gone ahead to sew the back and I turned it inside out using the little opening that I left on the side. So next thing I'll do is to join both front and back piece together. So I'm going to arrange them side by side as you can see me doing, and I'll use my pins to hold everything down. After doing that, I'll head over to my sewing machine to sew. So when sewing, you are going to come in a bit from the armhole area, so the armhole area is not too open. So for the strap, I'm going to pin it to the back and I'll stitch down. So you are going to arrange it and then you wear it. You keep wearing it till you get the perfect fit and then you are going to stitch it down. So arrange it, use your pins to hold it down. I think the distance between the 2 straps at the back is about 6 to 7 inches. So I'm going to fit it with the pin. If it sits well on my body, then I'm going to stitch it down and I'll cut off the excess fabric for the strap. So I've gone ahead to do that. So this is what I have after sewing the sides. When sewing, I came in a bit on the armhole area, okay? So after doing that, this is what we have for the blouse. The last thing I'll do is to go ahead and give my blouse a good press. So the next thing we'll do is to cut and sew the pant. I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4 and we'll be cutting a jumbo pant. So we'll be adding elastic band to the waist area. So my fabric is folded into 2 for the front. I'll be using this elastic band of 1 yard for the 1 inches for the waist area. So when taking my measurements, I'll be taking out 1 inch and I'll be replacing it with the band. So the first thing I did was to rule a straight line at the top of my fabric, and then I'm going to go down by 8 inches, which is the distance from my waist to my hip. After doing that, I'll rule a straight line across and I'll label the line my hip. Still taking out the 1 inch for the band, I'll go down by 14 inches, which is my crotch depth. So for my crotch depth, I normally use this video that you can see on the screen to get my crotch depth. After placing my tape in between my legs, I will measure what I have, then I'll divide it by 2 and place it. So my crotch depth is 14 inches because this is an high waist pant, like it's really high, and I want the crotch area to be free, okay? So that's why I went down by 14 inches. So after taking the crotch line, I'm going to rule a straight line across. The next thing I'll do is to mark the length of my pants. It's going to be 20 inches, but I left 2 extra inches on the base for folding allowance. So what I'll do now is to rule a straight line across the pants length and I'm going to label it. So the next thing I'll do now is to place my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch. So the 1 inch is going to be my stitching allowance. So when sewing a regular pant, that is the measurement I usually place on the waistline, on the hip line and on the crotch line. But now I want to make a jumbo pant, so I want the pant to be really free. So I'll first of all place my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch, which is 10 inches. From that 10 inches, I'll add extra 2 inches, okay, making it 12 inches. So I took 12 inches on the waistline, on the hip line, and on the crotch line. For my crotch extension, I'm going to go out by 3 inches. This pant is really free. If you don't want yours to be too free, measure your crotch line and divide whatever you have by 6. That is what you'll be placing on the crotch extension line, okay? So the next thing I did was to connect straight down from the crotch extension to the length of the pant. So after doing that, we are done with the front. So to give it a little shape on the waist area, I'm going to go in by half an inch. So I'll slant by half an inch from the waistline to the hip line. Okay, it's just going to touch the hip line as like this. After doing that, I'll go ahead and cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have for the front. So I'll be using the front to cut out the back. I'll go ahead and fold my fabric into 2 for the back. The fabric for the back should be wider than that of the front because we'll be extending the crotch and we'll also be extending the waistline, okay? After folding my fabric into 2, I'm going to place the front fabric on the back fabric, making sure I have allowance on the upper parts and on the side. So I'll also be extending the back crotch by 3 inches since I used 3 inches for the front. So what I'll do is to go out by 3 inches from the front crotch extension, and then I'm going to rule a straight line across so the crotch of the back and the front is sitting together. So for the leg of the pants, I went out by 2 inches from that crotch extension all the way down. And for the back, I'm going to be taking 1.5 inches. Okay, this is to give room for my butt to sit. So I'll connect it back to the crotch extension line like this. On the waist area, I'll go up by 1.5 inches and I'll extend the back to meet the 1.5 inches. After doing that, I'll place my ruler on the 1.5 inches and I'll slant back to the front waistline, as you can see. So after extending from the 1.5 inches to meet the other side of the waist, this 1.5 inches that I extended on the butt area, I'm going to deduct it from the other side of the waist. Okay, so we don't want the back waist and the front waist to be different. So I came out by 1.5 inches on the crotch area. I'm going to mark my hip points on the back first of all, and then on the waist on this other end I'll come in by 1.5 inches and I'll slant from that 1.5 inches to the hip line like this. Okay, so after sewing, you realize that the front and the back waist is the same. So after connecting, I'll go ahead and cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have for the front and the back. Next thing I'll do is to sew the crotch, both the front crotch and the back crotch, pin them together and go ahead and sew. After sewing, this is what I have for both front and back. The next thing I'll do is to place them right sides facing right side. I'll arrange the sides and I'll sew all the way down. So sew the side first, and then you're going to arrange the crotch area together also, and you sew. After sewing both front and back piece together, this is what I have. So the next thing we'll do now is to measure around the waistline. Okay, so measure around the waistline. Whatever you have here, you're going to add about 1/4 inch or half an inch to it, and you use it to cut out your band. So when cutting, before cutting out your band, measure the elastic band you'll be using. My elastic band is 1 inch. So I've gone ahead to cut out this fabric. The length of this fabric is the length of the waist that I measured plus half an inch. So on fold it is 1.5 inches. Once I open it up, it is 3 inches. So 1 inch, once I fold it, I'll have 1.5 inches. 1 inch is for the elastic band, while the other half inch is for stitching allowance. So I'm going to sew. I'll fold it together right sides facing right side, and I'll stitch with the half an inch on the wrong side. Okay, so after stitching, this is what I have. So when we are sewing, we are going to fold it into 2, okay? So right now it is 3 inches. Once I fold it, it's going to be 1.5 inches. So 1 inch, well, the elastic band will sit on 1 inch, while the half an inch that is left is going to be for the stitching allowance. So this is my elastic band. I went ahead to reduce my actual waist measurement by 4 inches. So my waist circumference is 28, but this band is 24 inches. So I went ahead to stitch the elastic band in place, like I closed it on one end. So I'm going to place the elastic band inside the band, making sure it is sitting well. From that point where I sewed, I'm going to pin it down, okay? So what you do now is to arrange the elastic band inside the band, okay? So, and then you are going to go ahead to sew on the half an inch. So when sewing, make sure you are not sewing on the elastic band, regardless of the type of band you are using. Even if you are not using a 1 inch band, don't sew on the band, just sew on the allowance on the fabric. So after sewing in place, this is what I have. So the next thing I'll do now is to sew this band now to the waist of my pants. So I'm going to pin the side that has the joining. I'll pin it at the back, and then I'll head over to my sewing machine to just sew. Okay, as you are sewing, you are dragging. Make sure you don't sew on the elastic band, sew on the allowance on the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around. After sewing the band on the waist of my pants, this is what I have, okay? So if you sew on the band, it's not going to stretch like this. So take your time and sew all the way. So this is what it looks like on the inside. All you have to do is to conceal the rough edges inside. And then you are going to hem the base of your pants by folding twice. Remember, I left 2 inches for the folding allowance, so I'm going to fold twice. So I decided to add pocket to my pants using my scrap fabric. I didn't have enough fabric earlier, but I checked and my scrap fabric would be enough for my pocket. So I'll spread my hands around this fabric, and the fabric is folded into 4. I'll cut out 4 pieces, 2 for the right and 2 for the left. After cutting, this is what I have. So the next thing I'll do is to turn my pant to the wrong side, and then I'm going to measure from the waist. I'll measure down to 3 inches. That is where I want the pocket to start from. I'm going to mark the 3 inches. After marking the 3 inches, I'll bring the pocket that I just cut out, and I'm going to place it after the 3 inches to know where the pocket is going to stop, just to know the width of the pocket. So I'm going to loosen my stitch from that 3 inches to where my pocket, the width of the pocket is. I'm going to loosen it. So after I lose it, I'm going to now pin the pocket on the right side. I've already gone ahead to do that. So I'll pin the pocket on that part where I loosed, right side facing right side. Once you pin, you're going to stitch it down. You repeat the same thing for the one underneath. You pin, you stitch it down. After doing that, I'm going to now join the pocket and the pant together. After pinning both pockets together, I'm going to continue from 3 inches. I'll sew around the pocket and I'll sew all the way down. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So I've also gone ahead to hem the base of my pants, and this is what I have. So yeah, that is all for this tutorial, guys. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video. Leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.